I'm really not used to being a speaker rather than a host, so it feels a bit different. And yeah, many of you know me as SAS user group host and chairman, and you normally see me standing here on other events. But there's a little bit more to that. I'm a SAS professional, and we also, I'm heading a business called Analytium with SAS partners, SAS resellers. And this particular presentation, I wanted to share something with you. We have a client, and the client is in Belgium, which is this small country over there. But to make it complicated, the client is a part of a bigger group. It's a big insurance business, bigger group. They also have business in Germany. They have business in Switzerland. They have businesses in other places, but they don't tend to use SAS. So we're going to stick to that. And make it complicated, in Switzerland, they also run what's called group IT. So if you imagine the complexity of the situation, you have a big multi-billion business, and what they said, we're going to buy a big fat license from SAS, we're going to do it as a one big platform, and then other business units come in, use that platform as a service, and benefit from the better cost, better service, better share of expertise. That's all good, and that works. But imagine a problem occurs. Let me introduce to you a friend of mine, Jane. Jane rolls in the morning in the office, really early in the morning, before anybody else here. She's a typical SAS programmer. He gets in there, starts coding. It's all great. She has support. That would be what we call local IT, or IT team within the business unit. They know the country, they know the regulations, they know the local databases, they know local applications. Great. You also have your central IT or group IT, and that's the people that sit in Switzerland and make sure the whole platform works. They don't know exact aspect of particular country, but they are there to making sure that all the boxes actually function left, right, and center. And of course, people that run the platform, they have those other support services like your Linux people, your NAS people, security people, firewall people, and everybody else. One day, Jane rolls into the office, and what happens? She has a problem. She just can't work. She's really there really early, 8 o'clock in the morning, and she can't work. It happened to a lot of people, right? You get in there and something happened. Overnight, particular node in a cluster somehow died, and you as a user just trying to log in and it doesn't work. I can see some recognition there. It happens, right? Yeah. So what do? As Jane, she just emails her local IT guy. He knows that guy sitting just next building or sometimes in the building next city saying, hey, I got to the desk, I tried to log in, couldn't log in, doesn't work, what's going on, help me out. Well, what does he do? He was like, yeah, but we renting that platform as a service from our colleagues in Switzerland. So I'm going to email them with your problem. In the meantime, Jane is sitting there. She can't really do her work. A bit of a problem. Guess what? Jane has colleagues. They don't start as early as Jane, but nevertheless start. They come in and go get a coffee because they can't do work, because their SAS service, databases, whatever, are down. A bit of a problem, right? Okay, so that not local now, Switzerland or the group IT person now starts to emailing other people. He's like, I know this Linux guy, he probably knows something to do with it, because nothing to do with the SAS software itself, something to do with the Linux. Let's say, it could be anything, right? So she emails to the Linux guy, and the Linux is like, I've seen that thing, I've seen that before. Bob did with it last Thursday, and he resolved it, right? Let me email to Bob. Oh no, but Bob is on holidays. What do? Right? The Bob he's not there. All right, so the local Linux guy figured this out, sent it back. Guess what's going on? There's more and more people building up, sitting there and can't really work because SAS isn't working, and that's what they need to do their job, right? Now the local business, so let's say that's claims department, marketing department, local boss is a bit upset. He has people, he's paying salary, sitting there doing nothing, right? People themselves don't mind, but he's upset. Finally, solution arrives to local IT, but too late. You know why? Because the big cheese is there, and he's really angry. Anyway, we all seen that situation. It happens pretty much most of the major organizations that I've been to, one way or the other. As the complexity grows, it seems to be the ability to resolve problems grows exponentially. Nevertheless, we all got together, Analytium as external company, got to contribute to this and saying, all right, let's find a way of solving this, right? There's so many stakeholders together. Let's get together. Let's work it out. What is it that we need to make it work properly? I mean, what is working properly? Let's answer that question first. What we settled on is, first of all, the most fundamental, the base of it, is that we need to work out our KPIs. I mean, if you want to say, I want my platform working, what is it working? 50% of the time, 99% of the time? Does it mean the user can log in, or does it mean the user can execute code? Two different things, right? What if particular application is not working, right? So you have to agree on that things. Of course, you also need to categorize the issues. Some of it could be just for information. Hey, particular file system is filling up. Oh, okay, good to know. The other one could be your whole metadata server down, and everyone who's using SAS cannot access it anymore. Two different ones. One critical, one could be for information only. The other part, everyone needs to be able to collaborate. Rather than sending emails, instant messages, picking up the phone, it needs to be a central place where everyone says, all right, I've seen this before, I'm dealing with it, I've seen that, it's on me, I'm working on it, without constantly asking each other. People in the meetings, people on holidays, it needs to be a collaboration. The second one was proactive monitoring. All right, great, we've set up our KPIs, set up the processes. Let's anticipate issues coming up and deal with them before the user gets to the desk. Okay? Sounds nice. It's already quite advanced. But even better, let's automate the problems. Because if we could do at the second level, if we could identify the problem is there, well, we're all programmers, we're all lazy. We want to automate stuff, we want to make it happen and go away right away. So we start looking at what's possible solutions for that. The new process is this. You have your local IT, you have your group IT working together, collaborating with each other. There's a big, powerful SAS over there. Those guys may not be even in the office at the moment. What happens? Overnight, some kind of big problem happened. Not entirely sure what it is, but something big and flashy happened. Zabbix kicks in. I can't see the logo, but Zabbix kicks in, and in a fully automated way, this nice piece of software sends out notification, just a simple email to the IT saying, hey, watch out for this. All right, nothing happened, right? Let's escalate it. Let's give a phone call to them and say, hey, this is big. You need to do it now. I don't care you're sleeping. I want you to do it now. Maybe not. Or even better, it sends some kind of communication to the server to solve the problem and make it go away. Why? Because what you want when your Jane early riser rolls into the office, the problem like it never happened. Because really, if you resolved it without the impact, it never happened. Of course, you would like Jane to say thank you. But seriously, if you're in IT looking for the gratification, wrong industry to be in. So the user doesn't have any problems. She doesn't have anything to complain about. Awesome. That's the ideal world. So what is Zabbix? I copied this from their website. Zabbix is a mature and effortless enterprise-class open-source monitoring solution for network monitoring and application monitoring of millions of metrics. When I say millions, I really mean it. There's pretty much, because it's open source, everyone writes it and publishes it, and it's available to everybody else. Out of templates, once you install it, it will automatically detect what file systems you have available there, what parameters you have, all your CPUs, RAM, so on and so forth. And that's pretty much it. Now, let me do a demo. Like if demos always work, right? So, let's see. This is Zabbix. This is demo of not the real Zabbix platform. The client, they monitor 2,000 servers using Zabbix. So in this case, we set it up on our platform, partner platform, and just for demonstration of this particular event, and possibly future customers. Here you go. It's just working. It knows there's some kind of minor issues on our sas.analytium.co.uk. There's environment manager event file is big, but it's just a blue color, which means it's information level only. Let me jump to this one. We know that it's information level only. It's average. Warning. What warning we have? We have a lack of free swap space on sas.analytium.co.uk. So for some of you technical people, you know that if server is running out of RAM memory, it will start writing to the disk, to a special file system there, or a special file, which indicates your server is underperforming. It needs more memory. And it's indicating getting that all of that straight away. You could also see straight away that this problem has been already acknowledged. So someone looked into it. If I have a look, I have administrator, Alexei, and he actually looked into it and said, yep, I looked at that, and the fix isn't a problem. He could also leave a note, didn't leave anything, but another one is the same. This one, the environment manager event file is too big. No one looked at it yet. So imagine I logged in and I'm tethering on my phone and I was like, yeah, that problem is not really a problem. I'm going to leave it at information only level. I will acknowledge it, close the problem, and say file will be, can't type, cleared at midnight. Right, the problem will go away. Once I update it, you see, I haven't sent an email to anybody else, but now you can see over here that the problem is closed. It's not resolved. I closed it. It goes away with the information right there available that it's me that said this over there, that it will, something going to happen. Straight away, centralized place. Nobody else needs to know. Now, imagine this problem appeared again in the future. Someone clicks on it, and you could straight away see patterns. This particular problem is happening quite a lot. This is when it's affecting, that's how long the problem stays on before it gets resolved. Something needs to be done about it. But do you remember I mentioned about SLAs, right? This is just one type of a problem. Now let's look at SLAs. Oh, we're good. Let me close other tabs as well. We designed that we have a business service. That business service we called SAS service, i.e., can a user log in onto SAS metadata server and execute? We broke it down into multiple parts. We said metadata server, mid-tier server, workspace server, all bunch of other components. We straight away measure it. So if we click on a metadata service, it will show us how well it performed and on what period it encountered what kind of problems and how long those problems were. In this case, we defined our SLA being 99.9%. Reporting is in one place, but because programmers are lazy, and this is open source and fully automated, let's break SAS platform and see this in action. What I'm going to do, let's see if you can see my phone. And you can't see my phone. Oh, yes, you can. All right, so let's go to SAS. We have our mid-tier, and I'm going to stop it. Right? Cruel, I know, but let's kill it. And this is only mid-tiers going down. So our metadata, workspace servers, those things are still working. All right? So what we should be able to see within about a minute, our problems appear. It's important that you see my phone because I should get a text message shortly saying something is going wrong. I also have a really bad mobile connection. I keep dropping up, so that might not help. There you go. Now Zabbix sent me a message. I'm using a trial account for the Twilio, the service we use for dispatching messages. In this case, it says, "Hello Vasilij, SAS platform encountered high issue. Please investigate ASAP. Thank you." Straight away, what you notice here, that our service is impacted. Our SAS service is impacted, and the counters started going down. We can also see it's a high problem, so not particularly critical, high problem. And because we're measuring stored process web app response code in this particular case, we know that that specific application went down and it's impacting specific users. All right? Now, let's bring the whole thing down. Right? Why not? Whoops. It's going to quit that. Let's kill the whole thing. Where's my phone? Because we're now creating a critical problem. We're shutting down the whole platform, and we're doing it unspecified. I got a phone call from Zabbix, and this phone call is going to tell me, first of all, that I'm using a trial account.
At any time by upgrading to a full account. Press any key to execute your code.
And now the actual message.
Hello, Vasilij. This is Zabbix. Your SAS platform is down. Please check ASAP. Thank you.
So this is example of where you could use Zabbix and you could use close to free services. This call hasn't, if I wouldn't have a trial account, would have cost me like 5 cents or something like that. And now we're tracking our metadata. The batch is not affected in this case, but our metadata is down, which is a disaster level. We have other applications down for other reasons that are not being accessible, and they are different levels. If I were to refresh my screen, you would see straight away that our SLA figures now going down. Again, no human interaction. I mean, I know I killed my own platform here, but figures being collected, the problems are being monitored, and they're being resolved straight away without anyone going into Excel spreadsheet and saying, today I can't access SAS again. That sort of logging. And what's quite interesting, if I were to bring up the SAS platform back, which will take a second, not a second, take a minute, because you measure your platform using a function. And what do you say? If I do this as a code and I return this result, that means my platform is up. If I do this and I get a different result, it means it's down. What it means that you can automate the closure of your problems and your issues based on the result of that function. All right, I get another call from Zabbix. I'll send it to voicemail. And what that means, you could, because now the platform is coming back, it's actually clearing. It's saying, all right, guess what? I can now log into the metadata server in a fully automated way. Because of it, I'm going to stop your SLA tracker. Do you see what's going on there? It's a fully automated way. And the example where I showed you where the phone call happens, you could do the same thing with a shell script. Show of hands, how many of you had a problem with the work area gets filled up and your SAS server goes down? There you go. You can automate that. You could say, all right, if my work area is at that level, I want to trigger this shell script because I don't want my users coming in, generating other big files and that falling down. Completely, fully automating it. Yep, so let's go to the recent problems. History.
Could you do something on the command line to reboot the application rather than doing it manually? So you can automate the rebooting of a server or something like that?
Absolutely. So even the phone call and a text message, all what I'm doing there, I'm driving into with a simple shell script. So I have on a server a curl command calling API to send a call. Because it's just a shell script, and some of you know how much you can do with it, you could do pretty much anything. You have your, I don't have administration partner here. You have a very flexible logic engine behind it. So you could say, if this issue contains these words in it, I want to trigger that. If this issue is equal to that, I want to trigger this. And you can fully automate that. Right.
How's it different from Environment Manager?
So Environment Manager, being part of the SAS platform, it's interdependent on some of the SAS services. For example, like Postgres database. Environment Manager doesn't come with all the necessary templates and other bits to fully control and monitor the environment like Zabbix. For example, Zabbix has out of the box all your databases, plugins, and everything else. Because if something is underperforming, you really want to know everything else around SAS going on. Environment Manager does pretty much just SAS. And in this particular case, we have actually integrated Environment Manager into here. We went to Environment Manager and we said all the alerts that you get, export them to that file, and then we read in that file like a normal log file, passing it into Zabbix, bringing again everything together. The disadvantage of that method is you have to manually close your Environment Manager alerts because you cannot write a function that determines if it's solved or not, but it's a one way of doing it. I want to show you another demo that I did. Let me open SAS Enterprise Guide. On the services over here, we've done more work, and the mid-tier is still loading up. We've done more work, and look at these tests. We said for the workspace server, imagine those batch jobs running in the middle of the night. Some of the data sets, you want to make sure that they're really representative, that they have a certain number of records in it, or more or less, or that the data set's still available, because what often happens, you rely on your IPA, LDAP server to authenticate to the database, and then your brand new administrator forgot to make the password unexpiring. Yes. Right? Happened, right? Yeah. Probably a lot of times. So what you want to do then is to test and say, can I, as a user, maintain access to the data sets that I need to make sure that my overnight processing happens and happens reliably? And I wrote example here. 1 second. What I will do, SAS health class, I got very basic setup over here. I'm creating a brand new data set, Probably better if I delete it first. So let's go. For those that don't know, this is Enterprise Guide, by the way. Latest version, not the web enabled. I have some emails popping up. Go away. Our server is still booting up. If I go to the dashboard, for example, what you should be able to see there, our process CPU load is actually consistently 70% or more, a really useful metric. You could jump on here and you could jump straight away on the graphical representation of that and see how the load on your process, let me go latest data, actually better, go into screens. You could take your information that you collect from the sensors and you could put it all into a one dashboard where you then see the information. You can see this was our SAS server functioning perfectly fine in standby mode, and once we restarted, all hell broke loose. Our memory usage went through the roof, our CPU went through the roof. Really helps when you diagnose a problem, really helps when you're trying to understand what happened in the middle of the night. All right, services. Still, nope, our mid-tier still trying to. Yes, so something you might not know, SAS runs within VM, within normal Java VM, and SAS designed GMX interface out of the box. So GMX interface is Java counters that look at very much how VM functions, how much memory is using, heap memory, pretty much everything, including CPU itself, which is, again, on the dashboard over here, you will see direct, oh, they're gone. Because we restarted it, would have resolved the problem with our heap usage. There you go. So you get these ones like code cache or heap memory usage, and that's specifically related to the GMX measure of the actual VM. And as many VMs you have on it, you could measure all of them. Again, completely out of the box. Right, where did I stop? Let's say someone went in there and we have a brand new library, and let's delete that brand new data set. Again, I'm on a mobile tethering, so it's extremely slow. Something had to go wrong with the live demo. There's nothing you can do about it. I was on a Wi-Fi here, but then SAS network considered my activity malicious, so I got blocked. All right, okay, that part is not working. Let's try to do something else. I will go and run this piece of code, and what you will see there, two things are misspelled. I have a data misspelled with double T, and I also trying to drop a variable that doesn't really exist. Let me very quickly run it. When I say quickly, it will run as quickly as my mobile internet allows. And what we should see on a screen, problems popping up, and that comes from the log file generated. So while it's running, let me talk you through. On a very basic level, I say I run this program and I want to export my log file from the program to this particular location, right? And then I imitate the SAS batch job effectively without creating it. I run the log file there. It has one warning because SAS is clever enough to say, I know you meant data, not data. And I will have one error. Because Zabbix is monitoring log files in a real-time environment, it will look into that and it will identify the problems encountered and will pop it into the screen. I hope. I'm waiting for 5G like everybody else.
Power up that dial-up connection.
Yeah, those were the days, wasn't it? So, and here we are. We just generated a log file, which imagine in the typical organization like large insurer, you have easily anywhere between 2,000 to 10,000 batch jobs that generate errors and warnings. And it's important to be able to monitor them in a fully automated way in an environment where people can collaborate on their resolution. And this would be one of those examples. I just ran a SAS program, generated errors, And if those were in the batch server, it would get picked up and can be worked on. I think this is it for my presentation. I go to questions. Any questions, anyone?